In this program, I have three variables: a message, which is a string, a number, an int, and a movie. The message string, I assign hello, the int number, I assign 5, and the movie, I assign some values for this movie. So the values are hello, 5, and this movie, which contains the name and the rating of the movie, as you can see here in the constructor, and how I assign the parameters of the constructor to the properties of the class movie. Now I will add some statements, most of them commented. The only one that will work is the print, that will display the different values that I'm assigning to the variables, like hello, 5, source code, and 8. I will uncomment some statements to change the variable message, the number, and the rating of the movie. So this hello, 5, and this value 8 will not be used because I'm overwriting them. The only one that stays is the source code name. The other values have changed. Now I will change the value of the movie variable, the whole movie, not only the rating. So the old values of the movie will be overwritten. I'm changing the whole movie, the name and the rating. So now you will see the new values. Let the right one in and 9. Now again, I will overwrite the rating of the movie, but this is over the new movie. So the new name, let the right one in, stays, and the new rating is displayed. In Java, every variable has a type. For example, message is a string, so we can only assign string values to it. I can assign, for example, by, but I cannot assign 3, which is a number. I get an error. I cannot assign true, for example, which is a boolean. The variable number is declared as an int, an integer number, so I cannot assign a text. I cannot even assign a number if it's between quotes, because that's a string actually. This is not a number. I need to write a number without quotes, an integer number in this case. In a similar way, the variable movie is declared as a movie, so I cannot assign other kinds of values, only movies. For example, I cannot assign a string. As you can see here, it tells me that I need a movie, not a string. Class properties are also variables, so they work in a similar way. Rating is declared as an int, an integer number, so I cannot assign a string. As I said before, I cannot assign a number between quotes because that's a string also. I cannot assign a number with decimals because that's a double, not an integer number. In Java, not only I must respect types, but also properties in a class. If a property doesn't exist, I cannot use it. If I want to use this new genre property, I need to add it to the class first. Now I can use it. But if it doesn't exist, I cannot use it. I have prepared the equivalent program in Kotlin. I had to change the name of the movie class to film, because Kotlin interacts with Java, so there was a conflict. I will explain about that in another video. In Kotlin, the type of a variable is inferred from the initial value, but you could explicitly indicate it too. Anyway, this message variable is a string, so I cannot assign a number, or I cannot assign a boolean. I can only assign string. Number is an integer variable, so I cannot assign a string to it. I need to assign a number. A number between quotes doesn't work either. I need a number without quotes. Movie was initialized with a film, so I can only assign films, not strings, for example. And the property rating is an integer, so I cannot assign a string. With properties is also like Java. I cannot use properties that don't exist. If I want to use this new genre property, I could add it to the class and then I would be able to use it. So Java and Kotlin work very similar. They are very strict in types and properties. Now you will see that JavaScript and Python are a little bit different, are more flexible. As in Kotlin, the variables in JavaScript don't have the type, but actually the variable itself doesn't have a type. You can assign anything to a variable. As you can see here, I changed the message to a number, to a 10 or 11, and the program works. I could also assign a boolean, and JavaScript doesn't complain, because variables in JavaScript don't have any type. You can assign any kind of value to a variable. So you can see here I am assigning a string or a number to the number variable, and for example I could assign a string to the rating. Nothing stops me from assigning any kind of value to properties or variables. Now, this flexibility of JavaScript can lead to unexpected behavior or errors. If I assign the number 2 to the variable movie, it doesn't make sense to change the rating of movie, because now movie is a number. When I print the name and rating of the movie, I get this undefined value, because a number doesn't have a rating. If I add new properties in JavaScript, I can also do it. As you will see here, I can also print the genre, and my program works. So I don't need to declare properties in a class in JavaScript. If you remember, we actually don't declare properties in a JavaScript class. We just initialize them in the constructor, but we could use new properties that were not initialized before. Python works similar to JavaScript. The variables are actually not initialized, so there is no type attached to them. We could assign any kind of values to variables, even if the type is not the same as the initial type. So I could assign a number to message, a string to number, a boolean to rating, and the program works. Let's do the same experiment with the movie variable. Let's assign a number and execute the program and see what happens. You will see that Python is a little bit more clear here. It tells me that an integer doesn't have the attribute rating. By the way, think of attribute as the same as property. Let's see if we can also use properties that were not initialized before. In Python, as in JavaScript, you can do it, because as in JavaScript, you don't declare the properties in a class. You just initialized the ones you want. Java and Kotlin work in a very similar way. The code, the program, is first verified. We say compiled. And then, if everything is okay, it's executed. It's run. If when compiling, when verifying, anything is wrong, for example, any variable doesn't have the correct value, the program will not compile. The verification fails and the program cannot be executed. On the other side, JavaScript and Python are not compiled first. They are directly executed. These kind of languages are quite flexible with types, as you have seen, but this can get out of control quickly because it's very easy to make mistakes when programming. And sometimes you don't see an error until you actually execute the program. When learning programming, I usually recommend to start with strict languages like Java, because you can see the errors quickly, and you cannot run a program with errors. Anyway, I think it's a good idea to know both kinds of languages. The strict languages like Java and Kotlin, and also the flexible languages like JavaScript and Python. And that's why you will see them in this tutorial.